Hey, Ugly Mug friends. All right, it's Jessica here. So earlier or last week, we talked with Ashley Bonifield, who is a realtor here in town. We also talked with Endurance Mortgage, one of our mortgage companies here locally. And today I am going to talk with Jameson. See, I knew I was going to mess up. Jameson Milliner, and he is with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, and he's a real estate agent there. And just kind of getting a little update on, what was going on with the real estate this time last year, how it's doing it different this year. And then also just kind of, again, those changes that they have made with how to reach their clientele right now and what is the real estate world doing. So, hey, Jameson, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you. I said it perfect that first time, and then I told you.
Good.
Awesome. So how has everything been going so far for you?
It's going well. Obviously, things are a little different for everyone, I imagine. But real estate's still moving. It hasn't stopped. I mean, it's slowed down a little bit, but we're still pushing forward, trying to buy and sell homes.
Oh, yes, for sure. All right. So we're just going to kind of dive right in. So how has the stay-at-home order affected the way you do business?
I'd say the biggest thing, in our profession is we show a lot of homes. So there's a lot of people, that don't want their homes shown right now. They don't feel comfortable with, quote unquote strangers coming in your house and, you're touching doorknobs and you're touching light switches and all that good stuff. So, some people, if they've had their house listed or on the market for a little while, they wanted to pull it off. They just, we don't feel comfortable with it. Totally understand, especially if you have kids. It's just something that you just, better safe than sorry, But, on the other hand, you go to houses to show them, and there's a box of gloves, by the front door, and they leave all the lights on, all the doors open, so you don't really touch anything. A lot of talking through masks, that sort of thing, which is different. And some houses, they also, so, if you're working with someone that has a child with them, and I actually had this happen the other day. We looked at a home and had to go with one at a time because they didn't want any kids in the house, because kids obviously, they can't keep their hands to themselves. So I went with the father first, and we toured the home, and then they traded off, and then I went with the mom. And but yeah, that's probably the biggest difference is the showings, and as far as closings, where it used to be everybody's in one big room and we're at the same table, there's a lot of papers being swapped around, and but so now it's a little bit different. You got your 6-foot distances. You got last closing I went to last week, it was in a big open room, and they had a bunch of basically like card tables set up. Everybody had their own individual table. So it's just taking the proper precautions, but those are the biggest differences, and obviously you have to tell, I've got to tell my clients that have their houses listed, that obviously there's not going to be as many buyers out, because, it's just people don't feel all that comfortable. If you don't feel comfortable with people coming in your home, a lot of people don't feel comfortable with going into a home, with not knowing who lives there, what's going on. So yes, that's the biggest difference.
Yeah, but that's awesome. I didn't even think about, not that our home is going on the market. I think I've said this before.
Sure? You don't want to? You don't want to?
Oh, goodness. I'm always looking. I'm always on one of the apps, or if I see something pop up on Facebook or something, I'm like, ooh, let me look at this. And my husband's like,
right.
Slow down, like whatever. But that's so smart to have those precautions already there. And then, that's awesome for you to say, hey, I'm not going to let this slow me down. Okay, we're going to go in with dad, take a little walk around, and then go in with mom, which may have been better, because I hated house hunting with my husband sometimes.
Yeah.
Because he would notice things and I was like, stop, it's fine.
Sure.
So it's just so funny, the differences.
Yeah.
And then that's a smart way too with the closings, you know, to have all that separated and stuff. I know we've heard of curbside closings.
Right. Yep. Definitely doing that as well.
And that's awesome. You know, people are getting innovative.
Sure.
How are you still able to reach those clients that are still like, hey, I still want to do this. Like I'm selling my home and I'm buying another one. How are you guys still able to kind of connect that way?
Well, I mean, you know, if you're adamant about getting it done, you know, some people, just depending on their situation, you know, we've got to get this house sold. You know, we've got to move on. So, you know, as long as we can legally, you know, do the things we need to do, then, you know, they're all about it. So, you know, we've done some things as far as 3D tours that we've started to do that can still, you know, it's got good reach, and it allows people, you know, to get up and drink their coffee and look at a house, you know, in 3D, and get a really good feel for it. You know, I'm sure you have before, but, you know, as far as, you know, getting new clients or finding people, you know, that are interested in looking at homes, and I actually think it's I'd say this thing's a blessing and a curse for the real estate industry, just in general. And there's a couple of reasons for that. But as far as buyers, now there's more people at home with more time on their hands thinking, okay, maybe I don't like this about my house. Maybe I don't like this. Boy, we really need, now that I'm home with the kids, we really need something bigger, you know? And there's a lot more people that have a lot more time to shop online, and they're just, you know, and they may start mindlessly looking, or maybe they see, you know, one of my ads pop up on Facebook and they click on it, and then the wheels just start turning, you know. So I think a lot of people with some time on their hands, and especially being online a lot, I think it's led to a lot of online, you know, I've had a lot of people contact me, you know, just via social media or online, because, you know, they just kind of, they weren't planning on it, but hey, they've got the time. So now, hey, why not? What better time than now? Let's start looking. So.
Oh yeah. So, I know this kind of wasn't in our questions, but how have you been using social media? I'm sure you've always been using it, but are you really utilizing it now?
Yeah.
And what are you doing? I know earlier you were saying how Facebook has changed a little bit. So what is your social media strategy looking like now, with everything going on?
Right.
And how has it shifted?
Well, I know that getting my properties in front of them, getting them the most exposure possible is the key to selling a home. You know, I mean, that's it. It's got to get in front of the most eyes. That's just the facts. So really pushing the targeted marketing, via social media, obviously, and then pushing, you know, the 3D, the virtual tours, that sort of thing. You know, that always generates leads, and it generates business, and it generates, you know, and the biggest thing with Facebook, you know it, I know it, is the engagement. Once you get the engagement, you know, everything will fall in line after that. So, you know, just a concerted effort to really push across, you know, what I can do with social media to help get your house sold, you know, the fastest, the safest, and for the most money. So if I can portray that, you know, what I can do for you as, you know, as my client, you know, that's kind of what I focused on.
No, that's great. That's awesome. And so we were talking earlier. So what are the big differences? Obviously, you know, this is a huge change, but what have been the biggest differences between what the real estate market looked like a year ago versus now?
So the biggest difference, and it's kind of hard to say because we don't really have the numbers yet for sold volume, because a lot of the things that have closed and sold, in March and in April, were typically under contract before, the virus even started. So the main number would be the active listings, in which just for the month of April, we only have 100 new listings as of now, which is way down from the typical, especially of a spring month, because that's a hot season. This is a perfect time to sell. Weather's turned, it's sunny. People want to start looking at houses to kind of line up, school changes and all that kind of stuff. So this is typically the hot season. And it's a lot less. So I was looking at some numbers earlier today, and I think in March, the percentage of new listings was down 15% from 2019, which obviously is not good, but it's understandable. But I think as long as there is, as long as there's steady, if we can continue, not bottom out, if we can continue, then we're going to come out of it. And like I was saying earlier, it's a blessing and a curse to an extent, because if we are headed or almost are in a slight recession, in the housing market, out of a recession there's going to be a boom. So so when we come out of this, which we will, everyone knows we will. Interest rates are lower right now, and they will stay low because you have to do something to boost the economy. So once we come out of this, I feel like real estate in general is really going to take off. But yeah, so really that's the biggest stat that in looking at numbers in the market is people are very hesitant to actively list their house right now, just because of so much going on. Are people really out there shopping? Do I want people in the do I want people in my house? That sort of thing. But so yeah, so that was the main number that jumped out to me as the biggest difference. So
yeah, so it sounds like there's a lot less people going ahead and saying, and you're right, spring is, I think that's initially when we started looking, because it was, okay, we're going to shift and that kind of things. And you have kids too, if you're like, okay, wait, I need a bigger house and let's do this before, you don't want to move the kids in the middle of a school year,
right.
That kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, as a non-real estate person, I completely understand that.
Right.
Do you think there have been a lot more buyers right now? Like you said earlier, a lot of people are at home scrolling and looking so a lot more buyers versus a lot less people putting it out to sell.
Well, I'd use the term buyer loosely, because most people in this profession understand that with a buyer, they may be a buyer, but they may not be active. An active buyer is a better term. I think there's a lot of people that are looking and that may potentially be in the market. I wouldn't say there's more active buyers than normal, but I think people and maybe it's just something to get people maybe to feel some sense of normalcy, that they can look at houses and think, okay, well, when this gets done, maybe it will be a good time. Let's start the process and have fun with it, see what's out there. And but I'd say as far as the market, I'd say it's a pretty balanced market, which means, sellers and buyers they're about the same. So, I think when we come back out of it, I would think it would probably be more of a seller's market, because I think there will be more buyers, ready to go, that may have held off, because of this. And then this, like I said, this may jumpstart something that they really weren't planning on. But you got 2 or 3 kids running around the house all day, every day. It's let's get something a little bigger. But so I think whenever we come out of this, I think it'll be a little bit of a seller's market, just because we'll have an influx of buyers.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's great to hear that, you know, people are still looking. And so I always feel like I'm always looking. I'm always looking at houses. But I always feel like that's just a fun thing to do, to imagine and think like, oh, what could this room look like with my style? Or, you know, oh, look, they already have this room painted for a little boy, you know, like those kinds of things. So I always love doing that. So I think that is, maybe even if, again, we're not in the market right now, although again, I may have to talk my husband into it. But it's a kind of a normalcy thing to, you know, it's something that we were doing before all of this.
Right.
And it's something that we're going to continue to do after. So, I love the 3D tours. They're so cool. You know, I feel like before we really weren't seeing a whole lot of those here in our area. And now I feel like we're seeing them all over. So I love that, you know, we have the technology to be able to do that. What is something that you, whether business wise or personally, what is something that you are hoping to kind of take away from this time and from all of this?
Well, business wise, I think what I will take away from it is, you know, and this is just strictly in my profession. I can't speak for others. You know, we'll still be able to do our job. You know, we can still buy and sell houses. You know, people always need to upgrade, or they need to downgrade, you know, depending on their situation. You know, people with jobs, they get moved, you know, that no matter what's going on, people will always need to buy and sell homes, and they're always going to need, I say always, some people choose not to, and they try to sell it themselves, which I don't ever recommend, but you know, especially so in a time like this, if you're trying to sell a house by yourself, you know, for sale by owner, what do you do? Like, what knowledge, what tools do you have to sell that house? You know, if you're moving somewhere and for a job, and you've got to get your house sold, and you think, okay, well, we'll put a sign in the front yard and put it on Facebook Marketplace. But, you know, there's so much more to it. I mean, sure, you may be able to sell it in 6 months. Well, you need it sold in a month. You know what I mean? But so, I just think I've realized that in this business that you can always adjust. You can adjust your business plan. You can adjust your strategies to fit whatever climate, you know, we're dealing with. So I think that's the, you know, when it first started, I was very concerned. What's this going to do to the market? What if we can't have closings? What if we can't, you know, what if it's a mandated stay at home, and it's like, no, you know, you can't go look at home, but I don't know, apparently we're essential. So. But no, we're not. I was joking. But no, so I just think that we can adjust and we can adapt, and also, you know, technology like it is, like you just mentioned, we can do so much now from our homes or from, you know, from a computer to really show off a home and market a home, and also reach new clients. You know, it's, you know, we don't have to go meet people for coffee or go, you know, do whatever. You can do so much from your house, in which, you know, it's not ideal. You know, you want that human connection, but at the same time, you know, I've realized that, you know, I can adapt to whatever, you know, climate's going on, whatever changes, you know, are going on. I'll still be able to do my job, and I'll still be able to help people out, you know, buying and selling homes, which in the end, that's obviously the most important thing to me. So yeah, I'd say that's probably the biggest thing I'll take away from it is that no matter what, I'll be able to adapt. So that's my thoughts on it, my take on it.
No, that's great. And I think almost every single person on my team has mentioned this, but to various people that we've spoken to, but we've read several different things about, what people did during the Great Depression, what people did during the last recession. And one of the biggest things is exactly what you just said, was the people who didn't adjust, people who didn't adapt, people who didn't change up their strategies.
Right.
Those are the people that didn't make it out of this, no matter what their business is,
Right.
whatever it is. But those people who did, who kind of said, okay, what was working, what was not working, what's working now, what's not working, and made those adjustments and adapted. Those are the people that came out better and stronger. So I love
Right.
that you hit those great key points. Is there anything that you want anyone, whether they're looking to buy or sell their home, maybe not even necessarily today or tomorrow, but
Sure.
in the near future, is there anything you want to tell them? Any ideas to give them?
Not really. I would just, I'm a pretty positive, optimistic guy. So I would just like to tell everybody that, we're going to get through it. We'll be back to a sense of normalcy. I mean, I don't know what the new normal be, but we'll be back, and things will progress. And but as far as the real estate end of it, if anyone has any questions about selling or buying, or strategies on when I should list, or when anything like that, I'd be more than happy to sit down with them via this, more likely. But and then if they're considering selling your home or buying a home, but they're hesitant because of it, I'd like to talk with them and show them what I can provide as far as a marketing standpoint, that sort of thing, to get their house sold. I mean, that's, like I said earlier, houses are still selling, and that's the facts. So that's really it. And I guess another thing that I'll throw out there is if any agents are struggling right now and kind of feel like that, they're not seeing any new business, or they're bottoming out right now, and they're a little concerned. That's one thing that our brokerage, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Ally Real Estate, that's one thing that we provide. We provide leads to our agents. So all these people that are online, that are clicking on houses and doing that, I'm getting leads every single day in my email from my brokerage. Somebody clicks on it, boom, it's sent right to me. And so if anybody feels like they're struggling, or maybe a change is needed, I don't know, because I mean, a lot of the times, if you don't have the technology and the tools to be able to adapt, like we were just talking about, and change your strategy, and have the things to do that, and have the things backing you, which unfortunately a lot of companies don't. But that is one thing that we do offer. So if, like I was going to say, if any agents, if they'd like to reach out to me, if they had any questions about our brokerage or anything like that, I'd be more than happy to talk with them. Show them what we offer, and how, and I could show them what Berkshire Hathaway has done to help me adjust to what's going on right now. So.
No, that's awesome. I love how one of the other things that we've talked a lot is how communication, between there's a lot of other businesses out there that are like, oh my gosh, I don't think I've communicated more with my team than right now.
Right.
And I really am loving how I've seen people who are in the same industries, but and not necessarily competitors, but still in the same industry, they're reaching out to each other and, hey,
Sure.
How are you doing? So I love that you
Yeah.
just said, if other real estate agents have questions, to also give you a call. So that's amazing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So that's great. Well, Jameson, thank you so much for your time. This was awesome. again, one of the biggest, I mean, I wrote it down. I write lots of stuff down when I talk to people, but I really loved the, you know, adjust, adapt. That was great. So thank you so much.
Good.
And we will have your contact information in the comments below. And we appreciate you jumping on here with us.
Awesome. I appreciate you guys having me. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. See y'all soon.
Thanks.